What is Hypercar and GTP? You've probably heard these two words mentioned across the motorsport community. The WEC and IMSA need a category for the new hypercars, and this is the answer. But what's the reason for Hypercar and GTP? What's the difference between them? Those questions will be answered, along with so much more regarding the new top categories for the WEC and IMSA. Before heading into the categories, I quickly want to mention the hypercars themselves. The two regulations that will be able to race in the hypercar categories are called Le Mans Hypercar and Le Mans Daytona H. The company that wants to build a hypercar for the next era of motorsport will have the option to build one of these prototypes. Alright, so let's dive into the categories these hypercars will race in. Let's first start by talking about the World Endurance Championship. First off, the name. The WEC is calling their new category the Hypercar class. The Hypercar regulations were created jointly by the ACO and FIA to encourage the boost of endurance racing and start a new golden era of motorsport, which has already started to happen in the Hypercar class. Hypercar was built upon the demise of the LMP1 class, which held its final season in 2020. Over its final years in the WEC, the competition of LMP1 started to drop off, with 2017, in my opinion, being the final intensifying competition of racing. After Audi left at the end of 2016 and Porsche left at the end of 2017, Toyota became the only car manufacturer competing in the LMP1 category. Sure, the LMP1 class had other competitors racing, like Rebellion and SMP Racing, to name a few, but they were never able to match the strength of Toyota. With the participation in LMP1 dwindling fast, the organizers decided to make a new set of regulations that would replace LMP1, called Le Mans Hypercar. The new Le Mans Hypercar regulations could be based from road-going hypercars. After Le Mans Hypercar came LMDh. Whether the hypercar entry is an LMH or an LMDh, the manufacturer can race in the hypercar class regardless. These new sets of rules allow the company to join a lot easier than the LMP1 regulations. This gives the opportunity for many manufacturers and teams to join this new category. Hypercar will see a huge increase in participation from teams over the next few years. 2023, for example, will see Toyota, Porsche, Ferrari, Peugeot, Cadillac, Glickenhaus, Isotta Fraschini, and hopefully Bajkalis Vanwall all competing in the same category of hypercar. So now that we know about the hypercar class, let's move on to IMSA's top category. They will call it the GTP class. Now, I will go into the current category in a moment, but first let's talk about GTP as a whole. You may recognize the name, and that's because it isn't the first time IMSA has used the GTP class as their top category. You see, GTP used to house the legendary Group C cars from 1981 to 1993. Group C cars also raced in the World Sports Car Championship, but the difference between the two was that there was no emphasis on fuel consumption. The GTP Group C era was one of the golden eras of endurance racing, with a whole bunch of manufacturers competing in the GTP category during this time. This included cars such as the Porsche 962C, Jaguar XJR9, and Nissan GTP ZX Turbo. And this was just the start of the list for IMSA's GTP class during the late 80s and early 90s. In 2023, we will see the return of the GTP class to IMSA. GTP stands for Grand Touring Prototype. And like Hypercar, the GTP class will be the top category in IMSA, and it will be the replacement for the DPI regulations that lasted until 2022. The ACO and IMSA decided to replace the DPI regulations around the same time that the LMP1 class was replaced with the Hypercar class. The GTP class is very similar to the Hypercar class. GTP also allows the LMH and LMDh prototypes to race together in the same category and fight for the overall victory in IMSA. The first race for the new GTP class will be at Daytona in 2023. And for the whole IMSA season in 2023, the entry list includes Porsche, BMW, Cadillac, and Acura. Acura and Cadillac have been racing in the DPI class for a while now, so they just transitioned to the GTP class after 2022. But Porsche and BMW haven't raced in the prototype category of IMSA for quite some time. I would also like to mention that all 4 of the cars are LMDh prototypes. The LMH entries that will participate in the WEC won't be racing in IMSA in 2023. Now you may ask, since LMDh are the only entries racing in 2023, why doesn't IMSA just call the category LMDh? Well, let me explain. I think it's because sometime in the future we could see LMH cars racing in IMSA. Sure, they won't be on the grid in 2023, but does that mean that they won't be on the grid in 2024? It wouldn't make much sense if the class was called LMDh, when LMH cars could appear in the future of IMSA. Plus, the GTP name has a rich history in IMSA, so why not bring back a name that had so much success with Group C, and potentially could have success with the new Hypercars joining in 2023? Okay, let me quickly summarize. The Hypercar class is the WEC's new top category. The current GTP class is IMSA's new top category, with the LMH and LMDh prototypes racing in both categories of Hypercar and GTP. Something else to keep in mind is that the Hypercar entries will use red number panels in the WEC. In IMSA, the GTP entries will use black number panels. Another thing that is incredible about the GTP class and Hypercar is that this is the first time in decades that we get to see the convergence of 2 different rule sets in the top categories of both motorsports. Not only will we see the LMH and LMDh compete in the same category, we will also see the manufacturers have the option of racing in IMSA and the WEC simultaneously. This is almost like Group C, and this is why we see so many similarities between Group C and Hypercar and GTP. So those are the 2 Hypercar categories for the WEC and IMSA. And that should be everything you need to know on the GTP class and Hypercar class. 2023 is expected to bring another golden age of endurance racing, and the organizers have named the Hypercar class and the GTP class to be the 2 names with the resources to deliver extraordinary sports car racing. What do you think of these new categories for the Hypercars in 2023 and beyond? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see another video related to LMDh and LMH, click the suggested video to the right of your screen. And if you want to see more endurance content, subscribe. It would mean a lot. So that's it from me. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.